This is not what I wanted to see. I really didn't want to see this.
Sheer devastation across Oklahoma as a 2-mile wide tornado decimated the town of Moore outside of Oklahoma City. Good morning, I'm Michael Casey. Welcome to a special edition of the News Hub. At least 51 people were killed, including 20 children. The storm has been classified as an EF4 tornado and may be upgraded. Let's just go to the Journal's meteorologist, Eric Holthaus. Eric, thanks very much for stepping in right now.
Yeah, thank you.
Good morning. So, I mean, this is a remarkable storm. How does this rank in comparison to other tornadoes? What does it look like in terms of past experience?
Well, 2 years ago we had one of the worst tornado seasons on record of the last 60 years. One of the worst tornadoes that year was in Joplin, Missouri, which you may remember. There were around 150 people that died in that storm that was rated an EF5. So it can't really get much worse than this, what we saw yesterday.
I mean, it does seem as if they are becoming more frequent. Is that a fair interpretation?
Well, I mean, the last 2 years or so, we've seen a couple of big outbreaks, which are somewhat unusual. But over the long term, the last 50, 60 years, meteorologists can't really determine if there's been a tornado trend because tornadoes are still relatively rare.
I mean, there's something fundamentally frightening about a tornado, the sheer speed with which it comes down and the utter devastation that it wreaks. What can people do in preparation, and how good are we, or becoming, it doesn't seem all that good to be honest, at predicting them?
Well, actually I had a chance yesterday to talk to a past coworker of mine. Her name is Robin Tanamachi, and she works studying tornadoes at the National Severe Storms Laboratory in Norman, which is about 10 miles south. She actually saw the tornado as it was hitting and was operating an experimental radar to examine and feed information in real time to the National Weather Service. So, partly because of her actions, partly because of everyone else that works for the National Weather Service, that there's a lot of people studying tornadoes in Oklahoma. So they had about 16 minutes of warning before the storm even formed yesterday, which is about 2 or 3 minutes above the national average. So this storm was well forecast, this particular storm, but it doesn't really give you much confidence when really the only recourse you can take is to be underground during a storm of this severity.
It sounds like the storm formed very quickly in that sense. I mean, even with that 16 minutes, is there enough chance for people to get warned, and why were people not able to get away?
Well, I mean, during a storm like this, you have to act very quickly, and they're tornado drills. I grew up in Kansas. I remember as a child in our elementary school, we had tornado drills, and it's a way of life living in this part of the country that you have to be ready, within a moment's notice to take shelter underground if possible. And sometimes there's not a chance to do that. If a family lives in a mobile home, those are some of the most vulnerable structures in a tornado situation. So for some people, there's not much they can do but pray.
Now, it seems to have been, up until now at least, an unusually slow start to the tornado season, and now we've suddenly picked up. There's been 2 in consecutive days. Do we have any sense of the risks going forward of any more?
We're still, I think the statistics are we're still a few below normal, if you can imagine that, so far this year. But that doesn't really give a sense of what's to come. It could be a busy next few weeks, but for sure this threat will start to shift a little bit further north as we move towards summer. Usually, upper Midwest will be more at risk than Texas and Oklahoma in June and July.